constitutional grounds, violating its constitutional rights in terms of excessive punishment, right to due process, and a lot of these other things. Speedy trial, considering how long it took for this to come to a court after it was first brought to light back in 2017. This novel idea of taking misdemeanors and turning them into a felony after the misdemeanors have expired. But I guess his lawyers know what they're actually doing. Ultimately, I think this does need to go away because this punishment was exceptionally excessive. You see this happen all over the country, or maybe not quite all over the country, but you see this happen in the past. I don't think anybody's treated quite as viciously or as seriously as the president was. It was nakedly political in its manner. But of course, district attorneys are elected by their people, so they are by their nature political individuals. We'll see what actually happens. I hope this goes away. It needs to go away because, frankly, if they can do this to Trump, then perhaps you might see Republicans do this to a Democrat presidential nominee sometime in the future. That is very, very unhealthy for our republic when the justice system is weaponized against senior political candidates.
Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. Armin Kurtigan, U.S. Navy captain retired and now state Senate candidate for the state of California. Always good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Happy Wednesday, Guy.
Happy Wednesday to you. All right, guys, we're going to take it to the nation's capital, if you will. In this case, lawmakers marking 13 years of DACA being in existence. Let's take a listen in.
Justice and humanity prevail. Now, more than ever, we must rise together to defend immigrant youth, to protect our families, and to demand a future where everyone belongs. The vast majority of undocumented students today do not have DACA and are vulnerable to immigration enforcement. In recent weeks, this vulnerability was made painfully clear with the detention of Jimena Arias Cristobal, a 19-year-old Georgia college student, and Marcelo Gomez da Silva, an 18-year-old Massachusetts high school student, both of whom are young immigrants but not protected by DACA. These cases underscore the program's limitation and the urgent need for congressional action, especially in the midst of escalating threats against our lives. What we've seen in recent weeks, and especially this past weekend in Los Angeles, the deployment of National Guard and Marines to our streets far beyond the limits of legal authority is not about safety. It's a deliberate move to intimidate, to escalate violence against our communities, and to lay the groundwork for mass deportations across this country. This is just the tip of the spear. The writing on the wall could not be clearer. We must come together, we must organize, and we must deliver permanent protections now. The Home is Here campaign is deeply grateful to have the support of champions like Senator Durbin and Senator Padilla, Representative Sylvia Garcia and Representative Delia Garcia, all whom are here today to once more commit to this fight to win protections for immigrant youth and our families. I also want to express our deep gratitude for our Home is Here partners and allies, NILC, CASA, Forward.us, Voto Latino, CARE, Make the Road, and so many others who advocate and mobilize in defense of our people day in and day out. Can we give them a shout out? Woo! Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, California Senator Alex Padilla.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here, especially all the youth leaders, all the advocates, all the activists who have kept this movement going. I want to thank my colleague Senator Durbin, and of course Representatives Garcia and Ramirez, and everyone here at the...
All right, yet again, we were listening to lawmakers marking 13 years of DACA being in existence. Going to take you now to Northwest D.C., where you now see Mayor Bowser approaching the podium. This is all a part of the reopening of the Public Safety Communication Center. It's located in Ward 1. Let's take a listen in with regard to what the mayor has to say.
And now, we bring you the following live press announcement. Our regularly scheduled program will resume following the announcement.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Devin Williams, and I have been with the OU Office of Unified Communications for 17 years, where I proudly serve as a DC Fire and EMS dispatcher. I am delighted and honored to represent the OUC and my colleagues today as we gather to cut the ribbon on the newly renovated Public Safety Communications Center. As a proud Ward 7 resident, I cannot express how happy it makes me to see the monumental investments being made into a city I am proud to live in and serve. For me, this is truly a full circle moment. When I began my career in public safety, I was following in some pretty large footsteps and continuing a family legacy of public service. My grandfather, the late Francis L. Williams Sr., a former DC Fire and EMS employee, was instrumental in managing this very building over his 22-year career, serving as the department's supply management officer. When I was training to become a 911 call taker 17 years ago, it was my grandfather who quizzed me on my firehouses and making sure that I knew every address and corresponding first due area. And then he would proceed to tell me how he purchased every fire apparatus the department owned. These were long stories. He was an amazing person with a strong work ethic and an incredible husband, father, and Army veteran. He is just one of the many unsung heroes of McMillan Drive, and I know he would be very excited to see this new facility. The importance of this milestone is not lost on me or our team at OUC. We are so excited to continue to grow under Mayor Bowser and Director McGaffin's leadership to show up and serve every single day for the residents and visitors of the nation's capital. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Oh, what a great story.
Thank you.
Thank you,
yes,
Devin.
Absolutely.
Well, let's hear it for Devin. What a great story. And it is one that bears repeating over and over again, how Washingtonians keep our city strong and safe, and how generational Washingtonians have done that through thick and thin to help build DC. So thank you for sharing your family story, Devin, and continuing the tradition of public service. So we greatly appreciate that. I am here with my public safety team, DGS team, Octo team, fire department, to talk about this facility and why we're kind of turn cartwheels in DC government on days like today. And you're going to hear from Deputy Mayor Appiah and Director McGaffin to talk more about why this facility is so important. And of course, Director Delano Hunter, who manages and runs the city's construction arm. So this PSCC is what we call it, has a storied history in the district. It opened in 2001 and marked the first time that communications personnel from the fire department and MPD were all in the same facility answering and dispatching calls. Today, the Public Safety Communications Center serves as one of 3 sites managed by the Office of Unified Communications. So in addition to the technology improvements that we made here, this modernization of this facility has allowed us to double the number of workstations at this site. And with this backup facility, we have more redundancy in our public safety ecosystem, which is crucial to how we maintain reliability in our system. And not only are we focusing on facilities and technology at OUC, but we are also focusing on our people. And as part of the FY26 budget, I am proposing a $1.3 million raise for 911 call takers in this budget. I have also included in our proposal $1 million to enhance call taker recruitment and retention bonuses. We have one of the busiest call centers in the entire country. We have a fantastic team that works for us at OUC, among the hardest working people I know, and we are very focused on how we recruit and retain them. This is the team. They work behind the scenes every single day during major events like the ones we had last weekend and will have in the weeks ahead this summer. They walk callers through very stressful moments, in most cases, some very bad days in their lives. It's one of the most stressful jobs that you can have, and we are hiring. So please join our team. Go to ouc.dc.gov to explore career opportunities. And with that, I want to turn to Deputy Mayor Appiah to say more about how this enhances the district's public safety ecosystem.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Mayor, for your continued investment in the district's public safety and justice ecosystem. I'm Lindsay Appiah, Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice, and I'm excited to join in those who have welcomed you already to the Public Safety Communications Center. I'd first like to express my gratitude to the staff at OUC. From 911 and 311 call takers, fire and police dispatchers, to floor supervisors, to the administrative staff to support them, and to Director McGaffin and her senior leadership team. OUC has a team of nearly 400 hardworking employees who work tirelessly to answer the call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They're committed to fulfilling the mission of the agency to provide accurate, professional, and expedited service to the residents and visitors of the District of Columbia. Behind OUC, in their delivery of their mission, is a powerful team of committed government and business partners supporting everything from computer-aided dispatch, telephony, location services, numerous hardware and software applications, and many more. Many of those partners are here today, and so we want to take a minute to recognize them. We have everything from our partners who help us with location software, telephony. We have partners who have helped with the design of the building. Architects are all here, and so thank you for your partnership with us every day, and certainly in helping get the PSCC back opened. We also specifically want to acknowledge DGS, who is a partner with us every single day, but certainly have led the team that have helped us to be in this beautiful center. And so thank you, Director Hunter, to your team for your work. I'm extremely proud to share that Director McGaffin and the district's Chief Technology Officer, Stephen Miller, who's behind us, will accept the 2025 Technology and Leadership Award from the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials International at their annual conference next month. These two, along with the teams at OUC and OCTO, demonstrate the power of working together every day to ensure we have a reliable and redundant system operating at maximum functionality. So next you'll hear from Director McGaffin a little bit more about the center.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Appiah. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I am so grateful that you could join us today. I'm especially honored to welcome you, Madam Mayor Bowser, Deputy Mayor Appiah, Director Hunter, Director Miller, Chief Kelleher, and the project teams from OUC and our partners from DGS, as well as all the engineering and construction firms, Alpha Tech, Mission Critical Partners, Donahoe, and Chiaramonte Construction. I also want to acknowledge the representatives from Motorola, NICE, Total Response, and Rapid SOS, who have been vital in helping us to ensure that the systems, programs, software, and capabilities we have at the UCC are replicated here at the PSCC. Simply put, this project represents the result of years of bold and strategic capital investments by Mayor Bowser to help ensure long-term operational continuity and resilience for the district's emergency communication infrastructure and ecosystem. We now have seamless continuity of operation and enhanced risk mitigation, two aspects of public safety and public service that go hand in hand. And as we maintain our commitment to serving the district's residents and visitors with Mayor Bowser's support, we are proud to celebrate this milestone, which will help make our programs redundant and agile while sustaining us through our growth. In fact, the space that we are gathered in today was expanded by 40% to accommodate additional workstations for our 911 and 311 teams. So today, as we celebrate not just this building, but the district's commitment to serve the public at the highest level, The district is only going to continue to grow, and we want to always make sure that we stay ahead of that growth. I am proud of where we are, and I don't want to lose that momentum. In closing, I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to express OUC's appreciation for the investments made by Mayor Bowser that made today possible, and also for the FY26 investments that will equip the agency with the resources needed to continue to grow our pipeline, grow our workforce, grow our footprint, and most importantly, grow DC. Specifically, the pay parity investment allows for our 911 call takers in our nation's capital positions to be more attractive compared to similar positions in the national capital region. Here in the national capital region, we have more public safety answering points in a 50-mile radius than anywhere else in the nation. Today, the average call taker salary is just over $57,000, and the FY budget increase will increase that salary to $61,000, a 6% increase, making the starting salary for our call takers higher than any other in the region and some of the highest in the nation. OUC is indeed growing, and this ribbon cutting is just the beginning. Let's make it official. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Devin, if you'll please join me for the ribbon cutting of the new Public Safety and Public Service Communications Center here in the District of Columbia.
Madam Mayor, we're going to do one pose. Put you first, please. Yes. 1, 2. Everybody look in the middle camera. 2 middle cameras. And okay.
Okay. On the count of 3.
1, 2, 3. Silas, coming up.
All right, guys, there you have it. Yet again, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser taking part in the reopening of the Public Safety Communications Center. This is based in Ward 1. This will now serve as the second operation site for the Office of Unified Communications. We were under the impression the mayor was going to take several questions, but apparently that's not the case. Should that happen, we'll take you back here with regard to what the mayor has to say. In the meantime, we're going to take you back to lawmakers now discussing 13 years of DACA being in existence. Let's take a listen in.
Working people like my parents had to work twice as hard than the average person just to make ends meet. I still love this country. Like, I love it maybe even more than some Americans. As we approach the 13th anniversary of DACA, this moment is a reminder that DACA recipients like and our families are integral to this country. This is our just as much as it is yours. It's a way to the way to citizenship. Halfway to citizenship I would be able to do so much more and would end other 500,000 call this home, call this country home. My to go into public low income.
All right, it appears as though we're having some technical issues with regard to that feed coming in from lawmakers as yet again they mark 13 years of DACA. Here's what we'll do. We'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, we just got word that perhaps the mayor will take questions. When that happens yet again, we'll bring it to you live right here on the Live Zone. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Yet again, we are expecting Mayor Bowser to address the media after reopening the Public Safety Communications Center. That should happen momentarily. In the meantime, we're going to take you now to U.S. attorneys announcing charges over anti-ICE protests. Let's go ahead and take a listen in.
Good morning, everybody. I want to stand here and represent ATF and the public, and announcing to the public that ATF's firmly committed to our whole of government approach to providing public safety, especially with what's going on here in Los Angeles. I want to make it very clear that we are not putting our state and local partners with LA County Sheriff's Office, or Sheriff's Department, or LAPD. We are not pulling them into Title VIII investigations. We understand their restrictions with state law. So this is us coming together when violent acts are committed against the citizens of Los Angeles. And in cases like this, the facts of the case are fairly simple. If you guys see the defendant here, Mr. Galvez, this was during the Paramount riots where Border Patrol was utilizing gas because they were having rocks and fireworks thrown at them and they were being assaulted. LA County Sheriff's Department responded to assist. This individual was identified even by open source media, preparing to assault them with a destructive device. And as you could see, by the grace of God, when he deployed that in a fireball, it luckily did not hit one of the deputies, as it clearly would have caused substantial physical injury or death. ATS firmly committed. These are the most aggressive criminal acts, and we will aggressively work with our state and local and federal partners to investigate the use of destructive device, arson, or explosives, or firearms to assault our public citizens and our public safety first responders.
All right, yet again, that's U.S. attorneys discussing the charges over anti-ICE protests. We're going to bring you back from Los Angeles to D.C., where Mayor Bowser yet again expected to take questions surrounding the fiscal year 26 budget, grow D.C., including $1.3 million to raise salaries of 911 call takers. Let's take a listen in.
Now, if something happens at UCC, we can absolutely bring everybody here, including our partners from the fire department and police department. We couldn't do that before.
Was it technology? Was it a combination of human factors? What did you need to improve?
We needed more space. So if you look behind you, there's some columns. That was a wall. And so we knocked it out. We've added on. It was sheerly space. The technology we were able to upgrade, but also there was some older technology here that needed to be taken out. And we didn't want to touch that because we put new technology in. So we shut this building down. We kept a small footprint here in the basement level if we needed to do a continuity of operation so that we weren't without a backup if necessary. And then we kind of came in, cleaned up, expanded, and have made it a true one-for-one backup site.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Helpful to understand. Mayor, if I could ask you.
One second. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. If I could ask you, Mayor, there's been some reporting over the last couple of days about the council and how they'll deal with the RFK deal. There had been a July 15th date. If the council can't meet that date, does that jeopardize the deal that you've worked out with the commanders?
The council can meet that date. The council has the budget. They have 70 days to work on the budget, which actually ends on August the 4th. And as long as this deal goes with the budget, I think our agreement lives. If it doesn't, our agreement dies.
There's no opportunity to extend that deadline?
For what? We have, even now, 6 weeks to answer any questions, to work on any issues, and to embrace turning 180 acres on the Anacostia River into a thriving revenue-producing new neighborhood in the district. The district is in a position where we have to lean into growth. We cannot rely on the old economy. The federal jobs, they're not growing. In fact, we're trying to save the ones that we have. So we have to leave into a strong growth agenda, and we have an incredible opportunity to bring our team home. to have $2.7 billion of private investment and to get this started and to get it right now. Now is not the time for some imaginary deadline into the future that nobody knows what it is. The time is now to act. Yep.
Given the challenges that the comm centers have had in the past, what does this investment by the city do, in your mind, to restore public confidence in the public that when they call 911, they'll get help?
I think the public is pretty confident in calling 911, as evidenced by the number of times they call 911. They know that they get help. More than that, they know by calling 311, they get the help and assistance that they need. I think the message to the public is that oftentimes we don't think about the unexpected. Everybody here, their job is to think about the unexpected, including if something happens to our 911 call center that is at our Unified Communications Center in Congress Heights. And if something happens, we have the capabilities and the technology to be available. I'm going to give you a little anecdote. When I was first elected mayor, Dr. Nesbitt, who was our DOH director at the time, she brought me on a tour of a room, kind of about maybe a little bit smaller than this. And she told me it was called the HEC, and that is our Health Emergency Center, Response Center. It was empty, kind of like you say, wow, why did they invite us to this room? And you know what the HEC became? It became our COVID response center, because we always have to be ready for an emergency. So this room and space and center is ready in case something happens at the UCC that would render it inoperable. And it has happened. And it could be as dramatic as something literally happening to the building. It could be a loss of power that we can't figure out how to quickly get it on board. Any number of reasons. It could be one of the communication, like Heather can go in more detail.
Thank you. We have come here on several occasions because if somebody is out doing work and they cut a line, they're just out doing work and maybe they didn't call this utility, that can affect us. And so we need a place to go. It is absolutely imperative that 911 centers all across this nation have a secondary center so that 911 doesn't go dark if there is an emergency. So we have come here several times for just that type of situation. There, a couple of years ago, was a fire on MLK. We were able to easily send people here because the fire department had their road shut down. So at shift change, we were able to get here. During major events, folks show up here if they live nearby because this center can run in sync with our UCC. So we can be sitting at UCC and our call volume's increasing because of major events, and we'll see people starting to log in, and it's because they were able to get here very, very quickly to help us handle that call volume. So we will run this center 24/7, 365 days, because if there is an emergency, it's a lot easier to move half of your workforce here than to try to move everybody here. So this center and UCC over on MLK will both run. And it was really important for us to make sure that we had staffing to do that. And thanks to Mayor Bowser's investments, we are able to do that now.
I don't know that I heard specific staffing numbers. Do you have the numbers for what you hope to be the expanded staff?
That's right. So we have filled 90% of our vacancies at the Office of Unified Communications of both call takers and dispatchers. We are able to have more folks on each shift because now we have expanded room here as well as at UCC. And so our goal is always 127 call takers and 107 dispatchers and 20 supervisors across the 4 shifts. Thank you.
Yes. Tony Wiggs. Mariella, TC News Now. For Director McGaffin, can you give us what a day-to-day will look like? Will there be 100 people over at OUC and 50 here? What does the breakup look like day-to-day?
It'll be half and half. Half of our call takers will be here. Half of our call takers will be at UCC. And then we'll have half of our dispatchers here, half of them at UCC. And then if ever work needs to be done, we can go to one or the other. This really provides us that opportunity. So as I was saying that this can work in sync, we also have the capability of making this operate as 2 different centers, and really 3 because we have Thor. And so what we can do is if we want to introduce new technologies, if we want to test it out, we can open this as a test center, and we can keep UCC running as it would day to day to take and process those calls. At UCC, we don't have that capability. We can't half the room, but we can certainly half the 2 centers. And that's in thanks, to our partners like Hexagon and Rapid SOS who have created those kinds of technologies and support us. We have that support from those partners to do this, and we're probably one of the very few in the nation who will be running 2 centers simultaneously, but that's for the good of the residents and visitors here in the district.
And then how many workspaces were in here prior to the expansion, and how many are in here now?
It was small. It's a 40% increase. It was I think less than 70 for all. In fact, when we would come here, the fire department couldn't come with us. The nurse triage line couldn't come with us. The DBH line folks couldn't come with us. Everyone can come with us now, and we can do it pretty seamlessly.
That's okay. Over yesterday and then today, we're seeing the House take some votes on repealing some D.C. laws, the non-citizen voting, some police disciplinary, and then today they're talking about sanctuary cities. I didn't know if you have any thoughts on any of these specific policies and the House taking action to repeal them.
To be honest with you, I've been pretty focused on our budget deliberations and didn't follow them closely. I don't think that we're surprised by any action that they've taken. Yeah.
The follow-up for the director, can you talk to us just about, and we're sorry because reporters have a lot of questions about how OUC works, but just the technology, if something were to happen at your main center, this would still be able to operate independently but have that communication, just a clarification on that.
That's right. Okay, so on a sunny day, as we kind of call it in our industry, if both centers are up and running at normal capacity, they'll talk to each other, everything will be fine. If one starts to experience an issue, we'll separate them so that one doesn't affect the other. We'll separate them out. We'll send the half of the working contingent to the place that's working well, and then our IT teams, along with the Octo team and our partners, will go in and address the center that's not performing where it should be.
Excuse me. Your turn.
And then just to follow up for the mayor, regarding the budget and RFK, some of the conversations that we're hearing from the council about stripping away the RFK provisions is that, well, we've done this with stadium deals in the past. Your response to that?
I don't know which deal they're referring to in that regard, but it has nothing to do with this one. This one is a part of the budget. They're budget items, and they're very, very specific timelines that the team needs to meet wherever they locate. So uncertainty created by the council will leave a big avenue for another jurisdiction to meet their timeline.
Team reached out at all after hearing this to you, or?
Yes, they're outraged. I think they feel blindsided by the discussion. But listen, I believe we all want the same thing, which is what I've heard, that we want our team to come home, and we need to buckle down and figure out how to get it done. Yes.
Hey, Mayor Bowser, getting back to the question that was asked about the House's actions, you said you're not surprised, but do you oppose what they're doing, particularly with the non-citizen voting law trying for the 3rd time? This time they have a Republican Senate. Do you oppose what they voted on yesterday?
What I oppose is their interference. And I oppose congressional interference. Whether or not I agree on the policy is irrelevant. I think that I oppose them interfering. The council has gone through the due process of the council, and the Congress should stay out of it. Yes.
Just a quick question for Director McGaffin.
Sure.
There's been some reporting that some of the instances where dispatchers were sending EMS to the wrong address were not uploaded onto the OUC dashboard as is required by the law that the council passed. Just wondering what your response to that is. Is that indeed the case, that everything has been transparently uploaded?
We have been completely transparent and compliant with the secure DC law.
Okay, anything else? Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you.
All right, guys, there you have it. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, yet again, speaking at the Public Safety Communications Center reopening. That's what's happening. However, the big story here is with regard to what she had to say about RFK Stadium. As many of you know, the City Council now proposing voting separately from the budget surrounding the RFK Stadium. As the mayor put it, if that happens, that deal will die. She stated that the council has 6 weeks to work it out. She also said, quote, this is an incredible opportunity to bring our team home. And she added, now is not the time for an imaginary deadline. Yet again, powerful words by the mayor, who wants that RFK deal to be a part of the current D.C. city budget. We're going to take you from there back to lawmakers marking 13 years of DACA. Let's take a listen in.
Universities in the country pass state and national legislation serving the state of Florida as a legislative aid and citizens of Miami. Heck, I even danced at the Latin Grammys. I really have done it all. And that's why today I stand confused, because I have done everything this country has told me to do. Every paperwork, every appointment, everything they told me not to, I haven't, and everything they told me to do, I've done. For 13 years, I have held my end of the bargain to go to work, go to school, pay my taxes, and stay out of trouble. And for those same 13 years, politicians have dangled my future for political gains, all while failing to pass a pathway to citizenship for people like me. Because of this inaction, dreamers across the country have been attacked by presidents, the courts, and states like Texas, who are aiming to take away our work permits, in-state tuition, and more. Everything that we fought for, everything that even members of this body have fought for. At this very moment, we are waiting for a judge to modify a decision that could even dreamers like me. That is how we live now, in limbo. One decision after the other. And that's just not a moral failure, that's an economic disaster waiting to happen. If DACA ends, the United States could lose over $400 billion in the next 10 years. That's hundreds of thousands of jobs, tax dollars, and gain powers gone. 500,000 dreamers will have their status ripped away, forced out of the workforce, and subjected to the threat of deportation, separating more than 1 million U.S. citizen family members. Like Senator Padilla said, those are nurses, our teachers, our doctors, our students, moms, dads. Americans understand that. They're on our side. Every time I speak with somebody, they're like, no, we don't want you to go. Over 7 Americans support citizenship for people like me. They want us to stay. They see us as part of this country because that's what we are. It's Congress. In many ways, I really got lucky. I came to the U.S. at the right time, at the right age, and at the right year. But many others didn't. Some never qualified for DACA because they were too young when Trump froze the applications in 2017. They were ready to apply, they were eager to apply just like I was when I was young, and I wanted to just be normal. And they're still waiting, because that door got slammed and hasn't reopened since. That was not only cruel, it was reckless. We are running on borrowed time. I am more scared today at the age of 31 with a degree in biology from the University of Florida, speaking 3 languages, than when I first came and barely spoke English. The courts can't decide our futures forever. Congress must deliver what we've been promised for years, a pathway to citizenship, stability, and dignity. Thank you. Thank you, Mariana. Up next, we have Todd Schultz, president of Forward.us.
So I'm going to be brief. It's an honor to be here. And I think we stand here today, and it's absolutely critical that anybody listening understand the thing that you can do is make clear, not just has worked and been success, but that DACA shows why giving people that certainty, that legal status, that ability to work and live your life with just a little bit more certainty every day, single day, is absolutely critical for them, and it's critical for our entire country. And if you look at what's happening in Los Angeles, that is made clear at its core. There is no world that has more out of the ability to status. Have lived in this country for decades. Congresswoman said the average DACA recipient came to this country at the age of 6 and is a quarter century. For a second. People who came here on average at the age of 6 who have lived here for a quarter century. And DACA has, over the last 13 years, helped over 1 million people do extraordinary things. Get a degree in biology and also do very normal, boring things that many of us take for granted. What does it look like to wake up and not have to worry about, is it worth risking driving my kid to school? And when we look to Los Angeles and we see these efforts, let's be clear what they are. They are efforts to take a failed immigration system and weaponize it, to stoke fear and chaos and to provoke. And there is no good system when there are people who have for decades been locked out of the ability to earn status. At its core, the thing that DACA has shown all of us is that giving people the ability to work and live legally is the right step. It is the step in the right direction. Not just for DACA recipients and not just for dreamers, but for everyone here. And that's not going to happen today. We should be clear about that. But we have to do what we can to make that tomorrow. Were DACA to go away, the economic consequences would be devastating. But in the absence of that sort of status, it gives this president the ability to say, I am going to go into courthouses for people who are trying to follow the law. I'm going to go to a Home Depot. I'm going to go and try to stoke as much fear and division as possible. And we should push back against that. There is no excuse for weaponizing a failed immigration system. But DACA shows, the unbelievable, tremendous success of DACA shows that taking people out of that, giving people permanent status, which DACA is not, but it's a step in that direction. Giving people that permanent status is not just good for them, but it reduces the ability to demagogue. It creates economic opportunity for everyone. And so as we sit here today and we see so much of what's going on, these efforts to stoke division and fear, yes, it's been an unbelievable success for DACA. And yes, we need a DREAM Act now. But this is also the thing, the path forward needs to be not just a question of what we're seeing in Los Angeles and not just a question of fear and division, but why a pathway to citizenship and permanent legal status, all immigrants who are building their lives here, is the right way to go. So it's an honor to work alongside DACA recipients. I will not be able to. And I just want to say, I hope we can look at a moment of pain and darkness that we should aspire to. So it's awesome to be here today. I hope we can hold on to this, and home is here. So thank you.
Bravo!
Thank you so much, Todd. Up next, we have Home is Here partner, the National Immigration Law Center. Woo! Give it up!
Hi, everyone. I am really grateful to be here with you all to celebrate DACA's 13th anniversary. DACA is a teenager. Woo! My name is Diana Pliego, and I am a senior campaign strategist at the National Immigration Law Center, but I'm also a former DACA recipient. I had DACA almost my whole adult life. And I feel so incredibly privileged to have been a recipient of the many life-changing things that I could have only obtained because of DACA. Because of DACA, I was able to go to college and complete my education. DACA brought me and my entire family of 6 out of poverty. It allowed me to work in jobs that aligned with my goals and ambitions. It allowed me to obtain my driver's license and drive to work without fear of a traffic stop going wrong and sending me to a country that I don't know. It allowed me to ultimately be where I am today. But I also want to share today a little bit about Daniel, a DACA recipient that I recently met who is also grateful to DACA and is a shining example of what DACA can open doors to. Because of DACA, Daniel was able to go to college. He became an Archer Fellow in Washington, D.C., and interned at the Embassy of Mexico in a law firm, where he helped children apply for asylum. He worked on criminal justice reform, interpreted for victims of trauma, and taught ESL to custodians on his campus. Every single step of the way, Daniel has tried to give back more than he was given, and he is still trying to give back to his community. And all that he has accomplished and will accomplish would not have been possible without DACA. What breaks my heart is that Daniel lives in Texas, where soon he may not be able to get a work permit with his DACA thanks to a politically motivated lawsuit attacking the program. And I can relate to this uncertainty this leaves him with, because I too felt for many years the possibility of DACA going away. It was a constant horror on the horizon. We've been fighting to keep DACA and for a permanent solution for years, and still the only certainty that tens of thousands of Texans like Daniel face is that now they are likely to lose what has allowed them to make great strides and contribute to the communities where they live. This is unacceptable. So on Sunday, on DACA's 13th anniversary, I want us to celebrate all the wonderful things that DACA has done for our communities. But I also want us to remember one very important thing. DACA is not enough. It never has been, and it never will be. We need legislation. We need the Dream and Promise Act. And I cannot think of a more urgent time than right now. Over the past several weeks, we have seen our communities under attack in unprecedented ways. We are witnessing violent abuses of power in Los Angeles, California, and communities around the country. The images from this weekend and the past few weeks are in replay in my head. As I have tried to lay down to sleep this week, I have not been able to help but think of how those affected families are sleeping, or probably not. I see the images of fathers trying to be strong for their kids as they are handcuffed and taken to God only knows. I hear the children crying desperately, begging their dad not to go and for their mother to promise her that her dad is coming back, a promise that she could not make. I hear and see a young boy trying to be strong for his mom, assuring her that he is there for her, as they're both taken away after attending an immigration hearing, of all things. The cruelty of this administration is constantly seeking new lows, and I know it weighs heavily among many of us. DACA recipients and immigrant youth are already getting caught up in these enforcement efforts as well. In today's Senate Spotlight hearing, we'll be hearing from Jimena, a student with no protections even from DACA, who was unjustly caught in this net, all because of a mistaken traffic stop. Because again, DACA has never been enough. And for those of us who were lucky to have it or currently do, we know the truth. Anti-immigrant politicians will not stop until DACA is gone, and they're hoping to kill DACA by 1,000 cuts, quietly and largely lost in this noise around us of everything that's going on. It's already happening. And I remind you that this administration's goal is to strip people of protection so that we can all be subjected to deportation. So I thank you for being here today, but I implore you to also take action. Congress must pass a pathway to citizenship for all DACA recipients, immigrant youth in our entire communities. We are beyond the point of urgency. We need words to become action, and we need allies in this fight of our lives for our communities and for our country. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. That was quick. Yet again, DACA lawmakers and advocates with regard to supporting DACA speaking out, now marking 13 years since it was put into existence. Yet again, we are awaiting a White House press briefing. That's due to happen at about any minute now. It's supposed to get underway at 1 o'clock, but as is the case usually, they run a tad bit late. We'll take a quick break and be right back. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone on a Wednesday, hump day. Hey, you're supposed to say that. Hump day? That is, how did they get you to do that?
You know what? I'm trying to get them to stop.
All right, I promise I'll never ask you again.
Once you get sucked into something like that, it's every Wednesday, every like 30 minutes, and I'm like, my eyes switching. And I'm like, okay, here we are again.
So you're hearing it first, guys. Annie Mae will never say hump day on this show again.
Oh,
I
yeah.
promise. You're excused.
We'll see next Wednesday.
All right, we're talking about our Wednesday talkers. In this case, I found this somewhat surprising. Cheez-Its now dropping a new flavor inspired by Wendy's fan favorite menu item. What am I referring to? The Baconator. Yes, they're going to unveil, I guess, a cracker that's really aligned with Wendy's Baconator. It delivers the classic crunch of Cheez-It cracker made with 100% real cheese combined with the savory taste of the Baconator, try saying that fast, burger, including hints of Applewood smoked bacon. What say you, Annie Mae?
I am so here for this. Okay, and it doesn't even matter that it's Baconators, that it's Wendy's. It's the idea of a Cheez-It that's like a cheeseburger, right? And it has the little meat moment. It has the little hickory smoke moment. Like any type of like bacon, sausage, something flavor, I am so here to try for Cheez-Its. I love Cheez-Its, the regular version, the white cheddar version, the cheddar jack version.
Wow.
So I'll try anything Cheez-Its.
I forgot about the cheddar jack, but that's
the
my
cheddar
favorite
jack
one.
is the best one.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like the flavor blasted goldfish, where I feel like it has more flavor. That's the best one, 100% by far.
I think if they're going to team up with Wendy's, they might as well go ahead and do the same thing with
This is
McDonald's. I mean, just go
awesome.
down the whole fast food chain.
What would
why
you
don't
do, like a snack wrap moment for McDonald's?
Gosh. Well, yeah, I kind of like the Big Mac. I'm still old school.
Or like a Big Mac moment?
Yeah,
There you go.
with
But
that
how is
special
that any
sauce.
different? It's just going to be the same thing as like a cheeseburger
Yeah, that's true.
kind of flavor.
Well, bottom
I'm
line-
going to try this, and the next time I see it at the grocery store, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to bring it in, and we're going to try it.
Okay, I'm all in.
Deal.
And make sure it's a Wednesday so I don't have to have you do something else.
I don't bully you.
You're a Gen Zer, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
All right, so you might not like this one. Tell me if it's true or not. In this case, a new study found that, well, apparently a number of bartenders are heaping mad. Why? Well, it's what Gen Zers are doing when they go to the bar. First of all, a new study found that Gen Zers do not drink as much as the previous generation. So when they do order a drink, they're one and done, meaning that they'll get a drink, close out their tab, and then for the most part, they're done. However, if they want another drink, they'll then open it again. That apparently is upsetting a lot of bartenders.
Okay, this is exactly what I do. I mean, I'm not a crazy bar person, which I think is probably part of the reason they're complaining. Because I think when I was in college, and I think it kind of has turned the tides a little bit, where I think a lot of people are drinking come around like 2020. I think post everything, it's been really all about health, right? So when I was in college, I was probably drinking a lot. I would open my tab and have it open for the whole night. Also, drinks were cheaper when you're in Happy Valley State College versus when you're in DC and you're paying $16 a pop. But you know, I always open and close it. My main reason is because one, I'm having one or two drinks, and then if I want another one, my friend or my boyfriend or whatever will pay for it. But two, God forbid we don't want to drink. Like, God forbid. Like, this is the one thing that Gen Z's doing that actually I'm like, okay, cool. We're not really drinking that much anymore. Maybe that's good for you.
Yeah,
I think they're finding other activities.
It's so different for me. I can't imagine. Well, do I have a problem? I can't imagine just having one drink.
Yeah.
But not only that, but I think the reason why it's upsetting is because the higher the bill, the more I'm likely going to tip. And so let's say I get two drinks and they're both like $10. So I would probably tip less on that $10 one versus it being $20.
Yeah. I think part of the problem is, one, it really has gotten so expensive.
Oh,
it's
gosh,
like
yeah.
tipping culture. I mean, we could talk about it all day long.
Yep.
Tipping culture has gotten out of control, but just the price of basic drinks, the price of literally anything these days, the price of going out. Steven and I were talking about it on air the other day. The fact that you go out and there goes $100.
Yeah.
I walk out the front door and that's $100 out of my purse.
That's the new phrase.
That's the way it is these
Yeah.
days, and it's like, you know, God forbid I don't drink
Oh,
12 drinks a night anymore.
Hey, you
I
gotta
do
support
two.
the
I'm like a
bartender.
2-drink wonder.
Okay, well that's cool. You
I'll
drink
support them
responsibly.
buying some wings or
There
something.
you go. All right. So speaking of buying wings, how about this one? Apparently, a number of servers getting upset. They're annoyed with, I guess it's a new scam that's happening throughout good old the USA.
Oh,
In this
gosh.
case, a number of folks are going to restaurants. They're ordering food. Then they're saying, you know what? I don't really like this food. Can I send it back? They'll send it back. Get new food. Say, you know what? I'm really not liking this one either. Send it back. One woman did it 7 times. So in essence, the waitress said, hey, this is not a buffet. you can't continue to send your food
That's
back.
got to be a one-time thing,
Do you
right?
think so?
I don't,
Apparently a lot of people are doing it.
Experienced that. And you know the funny thing is I would not consider myself a soft-spoken person, right? But when I'm at a restaurant, I have had rarely any experiences when I've sent something back unless I absolutely have to. I can think of one off the top of my head where I sent it to the point where I wasn't even going to eat it. It was so bad. And I sent it back and they were, you know, really nice, comped the meal, whatever. They offered me something else. I ended up getting like a salad or something instead. But the thing is like I have never seen somebody send it back twice. Maybe if it was like undercooked and you send it back and it's still undercooked, but then they're embarrassed at that point.
Oh,
and
I
they usually get it right the second time if the first time they don't.
My fear is that they're going to add their own special sauce, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, or a little tinkle, take a little tinkle in your meal. Like that's what they do in France.
Don't want that.
Like, no.
And not only that, but I'm also thinking if I send it back, I'm not ordering an entirely new meal.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same, you know, sandwich.
Unless it was really bad.
Yeah.
Like I got this pasta dish and oh my God, it was literally the most disgusting thing I've ever had. So I ended up getting a salad because I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to try the pasta dish anymore or whatever. I'll get something completely different. But if you're sending it back twice, 3 times, 4 times,
in this
and
case,
it's
7.
not the. Sometimes I've seen people where they give it to you and they take it back and they're like, oh well, you sent me the same dish out.
Oh gosh.
Like, and they're like, you recooked the meal or whatever. You
Yeah.
re-threw it on the, like, it's obvious. But other than that, like, I don't know. This better only happen once.
Yeah, I call it tacky.
Yeah, it is tacky.
In a major way.
It is.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. According to Annie Mae, joining
There
us
we
on a Wednesday.
Gen Z.
Hump Day. I
Hump
said it
day.
for you. Oh, hey, you're not supposed to say it.
Hey, you can say it.
Right here on the Live Zone. Thank you.
Of course.
All right,
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Good to see you all. What we have seen transpire in Los Angeles, California in recent days is shameful. Left-wing radicals waving foreign flags viciously attacked ICE and Border Patrol agents as well as Los Angeles police officers. These criminals injured police, threw rocks at police cars and officers, burned vehicles, shut down freeways, and lobbed Molotov cocktails, all because the Trump administration was removing violent criminal illegal aliens from the city. These attacks were aimed not just at law enforcement, but at American culture and society itself. Rioters burned American flags, chanted "Death to ICE," and spray-painted anti-American slogans on buildings. But President Trump will never allow mob rule to prevail in America. The most basic duty of government is to preserve law and order, and this administration embraces that sacred responsibility. Democrats like Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass shamefully failed to meet their sworn obligations to their citizens. They didn't have the courage to do the right thing and protect law-abiding Californians from rioters. That's why President Trump deployed the National Guard and mobilized Marines to end the chaos and restore law and order. The mob violence is being stomped out. The criminals responsible will be swiftly brought to justice, and the Trump administration's operations to arrest illegal aliens are continuing unabated. When the initial immigration enforcement actions took place on June 6th, Mayor Bass took to social media to say she was deeply angered by what has taken place. Mayor Bass then embarked on one of the most outrageous campaign of lies this country has ever seen from an elected official, blaming President Trump and brave law enforcement officers for the violence. She accused heroic American immigration and customs enforcement officers targeting illegal alien murderers, rapists, and pedophiles of, quote, sowing terror in communities and disrupting basic principles of safety in our city. Around the same time, Governor Newsom claimed that immigration enforcement actions were causing chaos. That's how radical Democrats have become. Their opposition to President Trump has forced them to side with illegal alien criminals in their communities and violent rioters and looters over law enforcement officers who are just doing their jobs. Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom fanned the flames and demonized our brave ICE officers. Instead of defending their city and their state, Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom claimed that in order for the riots and the violence to stop, ICE needed to leave and immigration raids must end. In other words, the position of the Democrat Party is that the federal government is not allowed to enforce our laws and to arrest and deport illegal alien criminals. They're attempting to use a violent mob as a weapon against their own constituents to prevent the enforcement of immigration law. This is deeply un-American and morally reprehensible. President Trump received a clear mandate from voters to reverse the illegal invasion ushered in by Joe Biden's open border and to end the lawlessness represented by Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom's California. President Trump promised to carry out the largest mass deportation campaign in American history, and left-wing riots will not deter him in that effort. Sanctuary cities and states will no longer be allowed to shield illegal criminals from deportation. Just take a look at some of the illegal monsters who were taken off the streets in Los Angeles in recent days. A Vietnamese national, a known gang member with a conviction for second-degree murder. A Mexican national with convictions for child molestation who was armed with a dangerous weapon and had previous arrests for robbery and domestic violence. A Filipino national with convictions of rape, assault, burglary, and theft. A Mexican national convicted of statutory rape, narcotics violations, and hit and run. A Nicaraguan national with convictions for domestic violence and hit and run, and a previous arrest for willful cruelty to a child. And an illegal alien from Mexico who was arrested after allegedly throwing a Molotov cocktail at law enforcement officers during the Paramount riots on Saturday. He is now being charged with attempted murder. Law-abiding American citizens do not want these public safety threats living in their communities, no matter what Democrats like Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom may claim. And let this be an unequivocal message to left-wing radicals in other parts of the country who are thinking about copycatting the violence in an effort to stop this administration's mass deportation efforts. You will not succeed. Any lawlessness will only strengthen this president's resolve to defend the majority of Americans who want to live their lives peacefully, free from the fear of violent criminal illegal aliens. As President Trump said, order will be maintained and illegal aliens will be expelled from our country. In economic news, the latest Consumer Price Index inflation report came in today below expectations again. Since President Trump took office, inflation has come in below economics expectations every single month. Core inflation held steady and remains at the lowest level since March of 2021. Wage growth remains strong. The average private sector worker is on track to see their real earnings increase by around $1,200 adjusted for inflation. And prices continue to fall for everyday Americans. Energy prices fell from April to May. Gasoline has fallen each month since President Trump took office, down 12% over the past year. And prices for meat, poultry, eggs, and fish are all down from April to May as well. Under President Trump's strong leadership, America is beating Joe Biden's record-high inflation crisis. And once the One Big Beautiful Bill passes, our economy will boom like never before. This bill is the largest tax cut for middle-class Americans in history. The One Big Beautiful Bill gives a 15% tax cut to working Americans and families will see increased take-home pay of $10,000 per year. The One Big Beautiful Bill expands the child tax credit to $2,500 for more than 40 million American families with children. And the One Big Beautiful Bill cuts taxes for overtime workers, saving them nearly $2,000 per year, and ends taxes on tips, saving tipped workers nearly $2,000 per year as well. All of these provisions are broadly popular with an overwhelming support from the American people. We need Republicans in Congress to finish the job and send the One Big Beautiful Bill back to President Trump's desk for his signature as soon as possible. With that, we'll get to questions. I'm sure you have many of them today. Here in our new media seat is Elizabeth Mitchell, the White House correspondent for the Daily Signal, who's not afforded a seat in this room, but today she is. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I have two questions, if that's okay. First, a few Republicans on Capitol Hill are suggesting that President Trump scale back deportations, even as ICE is reportedly gearing up for raids in 5 more Democrat-led areas. Would anything dissuade President Trump, and would he consider sending in Marines if anti-ICE violence occurs in these cities?
Well, I think I may have just answered both of your questions with my opening monologue. The Trump administration is going to continue the mass deportation effort that the president promised the American public. Many of you were at those rallies in cities and communities across the country when the president spoke about his commitment to removing violent illegal criminals and anyone who has broken our nation's immigration laws from American communities. And God bless our ICE and Border Patrol who are working hard on that effort. This administration is going to continue that. And it's part of the reason we do need the one big beautiful bill to pass as well, may I add, because the bill provides funding to hire more ICE agents and Border Patrol agents, more personnel on the ground to conduct this important public safety work.
Thank you. And on another topic, President Trump has indicated that aides to former President Biden who used the auto pen to sign major orders and pardons should be investigated for potential crimes. Does he think that Biden allowing or at least being negligently unaware of this activity was an impeachable offense?
I haven't heard the president address whether it's an impeachable offense, but it could perhaps be a criminal offense, especially on behalf of staffers who may have been utilizing the president's signature without his authority or consent. I understand that Republicans on the Hill are moving in the right direction to call attention to this and to bring in some former White House staffers who clearly knew more than they ever shared and never addressed with the American public. And so we look forward to seeing where this investigation continues, and I know the Department of Justice is also looking into the matter as well. Alex, good to see you today.
Good to see you, Caroline. Thank you. You mentioned foreign flags being blown during these protests. There are protest activities being organized for this weekend. Part of it are Democrats saying they want to reclaim the American flag. It's also being titled No King's Day. Does the president see himself as a king, and does the White House expect to see American flags being flown during these protests this weekend?
The president views himself as the president of the United States of America. This is a constitutional republic, and we want to see all of our citizens be proud of the country in which they are given the privilege and the blessing to live. And I think that those images of foreign flags being waved with, by illegal criminals and by violent rioters in the face of cars blowing up and of flames in the city. I have photos of that here to show you. With this violence and destruction that occurred is an image that Governor Gavin Newsom owns. This is his city, and President Trump saw these images and he said that is not going to be accepted or tolerated, and hence why he deployed the National Guard and United States Marines who have helped to quell that violence.
If I can ask another, sure. If the president does end up deploying any National Guard members, perhaps Marines, to blue states, would he be in contact with the governors prior to this? Would it be necessary?
Well, President Trump was in contact with Governor Gavin Newsom despite some of the claims he's made in the last couple of days. The president called the governor on Friday evening and told him to let law enforcement in California do their jobs. And the Los Angeles Police Department, by the way, are fantastic people. They are trying to do the work that they've so bravely signed up to do, to enforce the law, but they have been kneecapped by incompetent Democrat policies and Democrat politicians who do not allow their local law enforcement to correspond and coordinate with federal immigration authorities. And so the president gave Gavin Newsom a warning and said, get it together. 24 hours later, we saw more images like this. We heard about Border Patrol agents who were being the target of rocks. These illegal criminals were throwing rocks at our Border Patrol and ICE agents, and so the president made the decision to federalize California's National Guard. Stephanie.
Thank you. Two questions on the China trade deal, if I may. Sure. First, will the president formally sign the trade deal, and if so, when? Secretary Lutnick sort of alluded to the fact that it might be in a couple of days, but I'm curious if there's anything more specific to read out.
Sure. Well, I do have more specifics for you. I spoke to the president about this. He spoke to his trade team, who did a fantastic job negotiating this on behalf of the United States and meeting with their Chinese counterparts. The president is talking to them about the details of it now. But what the president heard, he liked. China has agreed to open their markets to the United States separately of this deal. And when it comes to this deal, we're going back to the terms that were agreed upon in Geneva for the release of some of those critical minerals and the magnets from China to the United States. And we have agreed to fully comply with the Geneva Agreement as well. So the president is reviewing the details of that with his trade team now, and you'll hear more from him, I'm sure.
And then the second question, on tariffs, Secretary Lutnick suggested that the tariffs would remain unchanged with China. I'm wondering if there's any room for them to negotiate even lower, or if this is the floor.
I won't get ahead of any further negotiations. We're in a great place right now, and I would add that this is the result of a lot of hard work from the president and his team, and the president has a good and respectful relationship with President Xi, and as you know, they had a direct conversation which led to this success that the president announced on Truth Social this morning. JJ.
On North Korea, has the president tried to resume dialogue with Kim Jong-un? There's some reporting that the president sent a letter and tried to give it to Kim Jong-un through some North Korean diplomats through the UN, and they declined to take it and send it to Kim Jong-un.
The president remains receptive to correspondence with Kim Jong-un, and he'd like to see the progress that was made at that summit in Singapore, which I know you covered in 2018 during his first term. As for specific correspondence, I'll leave that to the president to answer. Sure.
Good afternoon. Yeah, thanks. Back to the trade deal negotiations with China. Jimmy Lai, as you know, is a pro-democracy advocate, Catholic, sitting in solitary confinement in Hong Kong as we speak. His family believes he may be close to death. Did his name come up, Jimmy Lai's name come up in these negotiations with China?
Not to my knowledge. I understand the negotiations were very much focused on our trade and economic relationship with China.
Does the president believe he can free Jimmy Lai from prison?
I'll check with the president. It's certainly an important issue, and I'll get back to you.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said yesterday that paid insurrectionists were behind or involved in the protests in Los Angeles. Does the White House have any more details about who they believe is paying these protesters?
The president spoke about this last night when he returned from Fort Bragg, because frankly the president has a lot of common sense, and if you look at some of the imagery that we have received from the Department of Homeland Security and ICE and law enforcement who are on the ground, you will see boxes and boxes of very professionalized masks and rioting equipment being dropped off for these protesters. So it's a good question the president is raising, and one we are looking into, about who is funding these insurrectionists and these rioters and these protesters and these illegal criminals. And I have updates for you on the numbers, by the way. Since June 6th, there have been 330 illegal aliens that have been arrested as part of these riots in Los Angeles. 113 of those illegal aliens had prior criminal convictions. And overall, and this includes arrests of American citizens, there's been 157 people arrested for assault and obstruction-related charges, including the attempted murder of a police officer with a Molotov cocktail. So who is funding these illegal aliens who are coming in with this very professional riot gear? It's a question everyone in this room who cares about truth should be asking. And we encourage your help in trying to get to the bottom of that question. Indina.
Thank you, Caroline. About Elon Musk, he issued an apology this morning. Has the president accepted the apology, or does he think it's too little too late?
The president acknowledged the statement that Elon put out this morning, and he is appreciative of it, and we are continuing to focus on the business of the American people.
And has the administration started a review of Musk's government contracts, something that the president said he's considering?
What do you mean by that?
Has the administration started a review of the contracts that Musk and his companies currently have?
No efforts have been made on that front as far as I'm aware.
And just one more, if I may, on just everything sort of we've seen so far with the president's response to the LA protests. There is criticism that seems to suggest that the president responded the way he did because it was a deliberate, calculated attempt to sort of shift focus away from his feud with Musk. How would you respond to that?
The president responded to the LA riots, condemning the violence
from Musk.
That's an incredibly disingenuous attack. The president saw images of Border Patrol and ICE agents being hailed with rocks and Molotov cocktails. He saw vehicles being burned to the ground with illegal aliens flying foreign flags, and that's what prompted the president to have this response that has clearly worked, because last night in Los Angeles you didn't see many of those images. And I would add the governor and the mayor need to actually do more. I know Gavin Newsom had a big address to the nation last night. I guess he thought that's what it was for maybe his future political ambitions, but he spoke a lot of words. We haven't seen action. California has been a mess for years because of the incompetence of Gavin Newsom, so the president was responding to that only. Caitlin.
Caroline, two questions for you.
Sure.
Over the weekend, Secretary Noem sent a memo to the Pentagon asking Secretary Hegseth to have and direct the military that's on the ground in LA to arrest and detain what she said were lawbreakers. Is the president okay with that? And under what authority would the members of the military be able to arrest people inside the United States?
I can't speak for a letter that came from the Department of Homeland Security. I can't speak for the president and what's currently happening on the ground now. And as you know, the president federalized the National Guard under U.S. Code 10, which he has the authority to do. And our United States Marines and the National Guardsmen and women who are on the ground right now are helping to create a peaceful environment for ICE and Border Patrol, who were being, again, hailed with rocks, who were being violently and viciously attacked. They needed reinforcements, and so our United States Marines who are on the ground are providing those reinforcements to ensure the environment is peaceful so that these raids and deportations can continue.
But he realizes they can't actually arrest people unless he invokes the Insurrection Act, which, I mean, seemingly was not something that was in Secretary Noem's memo, a clear distinction she did not make there.
Again, you're trying to conflate a letter that was sent to the Department of Homeland Security to the president's legal authority. The president understands the legal authority that he invoked, and that's the current situation right now.
When it comes to federalizing the National Guard, what is the specific criteria that the president is using for when he's deciding to do that, and in which states?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. He wants to see an end to the chaos and the violence. He doesn't want to see law enforcement officers being attacked. He wants to see peace. He wants law-abiding Californians to be able to bring their kids to school, to be able to go to work without seeing this violence in the streets. That's what the president's hoping for, and that's why he's taken this action. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions on two separate topics. One has to do with the military parade taking place here in Washington this weekend. There's a lot of security around the White House complex, around the Capitol complex, even along the tidal basin. Is that just proactive? Are you expecting anything in particular in terms of unrest like we've seen in Los Angeles?
These are proactive security measures to protect those marching in the parade, many of whom will be veterans and our brave men and women in uniform and Gold Star families. There's going to be military families from around the country who are flying into this parade. And of course, it's to protect the spectators who will be enjoying this incredibly patriotic show on Saturday, and I hope you all join us there.
And then secondly, Secretary Pete Hegseth testified on the Senate side of the Capitol today, and he was asked about America's, the administration's view of Vladimir Putin's intentions, and specifically it was asked whether or not his intentions go beyond, his territorial ambitions go beyond Ukraine. When that question was posed to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane replied that he does believe that his territorial ambitions go beyond Ukraine, but Secretary Hegseth says it's not clear at this point. How does the president view this issue?
The president has spoken on this. He said, as he calls it, he believes Ukraine was always the apple of Putin's eye. And he made it very clear to Putin in his first term not to invade Ukraine. Putin didn't invade Ukraine because of President Trump's peace through strength foreign policy agenda and the effective deterrence policies that he implemented in the first term. Unfortunately, because of the weakness and incompetence of the previous administration, Vladimir Putin made the decision to invade Ukraine. And now we have this brutal war, which the president is working very hard to end. Jasmine.
Thanks so much, Caroline. The president warned that any protests on Saturday would be met with force. Can you clarify what kind of protest President Trump does support or find acceptable?
The president absolutely supports peaceful protests. He supports the First Amendment. He supports the right of Americans to make their voices heard. He does not support violence of any kind. He does not support assaulting law enforcement officers who are simply trying to do their job. It's very clear for the president what he supports and what he does not. Unfortunately for Democrats, that line has not been made clear, and they've allowed this unrest and this violence to continue, and the president has had to step in.
What question? So if there were peaceful protests on Saturday for the military parade, President Trump would allow that?
Of course the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question. Raquel.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
Raquel, and then I can go to you, Francis. Go.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I have two questions. One about Israel. Yesterday, the U.S. ambassador to Israel said the U.S. no longer is pursuing the goal of an independent Palestinian state. Can you confirm that the president is no longer supporting a two-state solution? And is President Trump considering diplomatic action against countries who takes action against Israel during next week's UN conference?
Right now, the president views the situation in Israel and Gaza as deeply unfortunate and needing to end. And the president is realistic about the current state of affairs in this region of the world. And that's why the president has said the #1 focus and priority of the administration is to release all of the hostages from Gaza and to end this conflict as soon as possible. The administration is still pushing very hard for the release of all the hostages. And as for what happens next, clearly Gaza is an uninhabitable place. It needs to be rebuilt with the help of our Arab partners, and the president wants to see that happen as well. Take a couple
Just one on the G7 engagement. President Trump is traveling there on Sunday. Other presidents beyond the G7 leaders are also going. President Lula from Brazil, President Sheinbaum from Mexico, and President Zelensky from Ukraine are also going. Do you have confirmation if President Trump is meeting any other leaders on the sideline of the G7?
Yes.
To know about the Lula engagement.
I can confirm there will be quite a few bilateral meetings between the president and other foreign leaders. The White House is still working very hard to finalize that schedule, and we will provide that for you as soon as we have it. Great.
Thanks, Kelly. Just back to the China trade deal, can you talk about the status of the export controls that the U.S. imposed? Are those no longer being imposed?
We are fully complying with the Geneva Agreement. Go ahead. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. One foreign question for you and one domestic. The foreign, the president, of course, has said he would lift sanctions on Syria. Is there an executive order coming along soon to go do that? And is the president planning to try to get involved in any kind of a peace agreement between Israel and Syria that would disengage those two?
To the best of my knowledge, the Treasury Department took action after the president made that announcement in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. And then on the domestic side, you were just asked about the First Amendment rights issues. In the president's comments yesterday, though, he just said protesters would be strongly dealt with. In your list before, you referred to insurrectionists, rioters, and protesters together. Obviously, they're quite different from your earlier answer. I'm struck by the fact that the president has not at any point said the most important thing here is to protect the First Amendment rights of peaceful protesters. So I'm wondering, where in his hierarchy of interests does he place that? Is the First Amendment protection the most important? Is stopping violence most important? Why is he not out saying all peaceful protesters will be protected?
I think two things can be important at the same time. And the president, as I just answered, supports the right of Americans to peacefully protest. He supports the First Amendment. But that is not the majority of the behavior that we have seen taking place in Los Angeles. We have seen mobs of violent rioters and agitators assaulting law enforcement officers, assaulting our federal immigration authorities. And we have seen, as I said, this goes back to what this administration is trying to do and accomplish, and that's enforcing law and order in our nation's communities, and it's removing public safety threats from communities in Los Angeles.
You're saying the majority have not been peaceful, the majority have been violent.
I just read for you the arrest numbers. We've arrested nearly 400 illegal aliens alone, just illegal aliens who have been arrested in these riots since June 6th, since they began.
Thousands of people on the streets.
Yeah, and we've had hundreds of people who have assaulted law enforcement officers. Are you saying that that's that's appropriate behavior?
No,
Are you
no,
saying
I'm not
that
saying
the
that at all.
president
I'm
shouldn't
just
take
trying
action?
to figure out.
The Democrat governor and the Democrat mayor of Los Angeles have failed their citizens. And the majority of Americans, the majority of Californians do not want to see law enforcement officers being assaulted in the streets. And thankfully, the president took action and stepped in to protect our federal law enforcement agents, to protect federal buildings, to protect the federal mission of deporting illegal criminals off of our streets. And that mission will continue every day as far as we're concerned. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, there you have it. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt discussing a number of things, mainly focusing on the protests that are currently taking place in Los Angeles. She called the Democrats radical, stating they do not believe the Trump administration can enforce the law. She also made mention that President Trump will continue mass deportation efforts. With regard to the upcoming military parade that's set to get underway this upcoming Saturday, she stated that proactive security measures are being taken to protect spectators during, yet again, that parade that you can watch right here on Fox Local. We'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, producer Chris joins us with the sizzling topics next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, just like that, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, joined now with producer Chris with all things sizzling. What's up, my man?
You know, it is very rare for me to walk into a bar and ever anticipate only having one.
Yeah.
And then paying my tab and leaving. However, I am a millennial, and we are here to talk about Gen Z, because apparently they have a problem with bar tabs, and it's causing some major issues. And some real life ones for restaurants and bartenders alike. Now let me set the scene for you. Apparently, according to some recent studies, Gen Z doesn't like opening a check. Instead, when they go out for drinks with friends or by themselves, they pay as they go. Every single time they order a drink, they close the tab. They hand the card over, they swipe it, transaction complete. Now, there are some reasons they may do this. According to the New York Times, one of the reasons is they're not drinking as much as some of us, millennials, pointing at myself here, may. Number two is because they grew up with more options for paying, simply tapping your phone, tapping your card, or any of those Apple and Google Pay options, which allows you to kind of do it more immediately without even handing over a card in the first place.
I can understand that.
The third reason is because it's easier to keep track of your finances when you're paying as you go. You know how much you just spent on each drink. I personally would argue I would probably then end up over tipping because I'm going to leave more for one drink.
Really?
I don't know. This is where I would get a little bit of a gray area for me. I tend to not just leave like $1 per beer, which is like the old standard. I kind of tend to just, the fewer things on my order, I feel like I tip better, just to kind of establish, you know, okay, I took up your time.
Yeah.
Here's $5 for one drink. Maybe. I don't know. It's a whole gray area. However, I can also understand how if you just leave it open, it's very easy to kind of forget how many you had, and then you get the check back at the end of the night, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I've been there. So those are the major reasons why. However, the reason that people working at bars don't like it, one reason, it slows down the process for them. If they're busy, if they're trying to make a lot of drinks, they're trying to serve a lot of customers, closing your tab every single time is a time-consuming process. The other reason is a lot of those establishments are getting charged a service fee when they swipe your card. So if you're swiping on every single drink, they're taking a financial hit every single time.
Yeah. No. Case in point, there's a convenience store that I stop at when I leave here, and they require you, if you're using a credit card, they have to charge at least $5.
Okay.
To your
That's
card.
part of their reason why.
So I fully get that. But with regard to the drink aspect, Annie Mae and I were talking about this earlier. I disagree. I think the more I have on that tab, the more I'm going to tip. So you always start at 20% with me. No matter what, you're going to get it. It's incumbent upon you to keep it.
Exactly.
But yeah, so if let's say the bill was $20, I'll tip more than what I would, not just because it's higher, but it just seems like you want to give more.
I think if I had 4 happy hour drinks, I'm a made up scenario here. 4 happy hour drinks, they're $5 each. I get a check back at the end of the night, it's $20. I might leave $5 on that. If I buy one drink, I might leave $5 on that as well. So then if I buy a second one because I've been convinced to stay, and then I'm like, I've already set that standard. I can't go back on that now. And then I think I would end up spending way. I'd end up leaving $20 in tips on $20 worth of drinks, which is bad math and how I get myself in trouble because I've absolutely done that.
Bottom line, if you're a bartender, you want Chris as your customer.
It's 100% true. You absolutely do, to my wife's dismay. Now I'm going to pick on my own generation here, millennials, but we're moving from the bar to the text messaging, okay? Because we have a habit, and I'm including myself in this, of trying to soften our text messages, apparently. We end them with LOL. And now we're getting picked on for this, and I understand why. People are comparing it to the old school telegram, where you would end every message with, stop.
Oh, okay, stop.
No, but for us, it's LOL. Now, experts say part of the reason millennials do that is because of their built-in anxiety. We're trying to soften the message. We're trying to maybe appear more flexible or appear more easygoing than the message may actually convey. And so you add a quick LOL. Hey, I'm just, you know.
I see what you're saying. Wow.
Other generations have no issue not doing that because they're more willing to be a little more blunt or straightforward. I think this is partially because we grew up in an era of text messaging, and as the communication levels have changed, we have tried to read a lot of subtext in texts that maybe didn't always exist to begin with.
Very good point. Yeah, for me, it's the emoji aspect. I've been told that, hey, you're using old emojis. You're old, dude.
I'm guilty of all of this.
Yeah.
I know for a fact I abuse the LOL. I abuse it because sometimes, I don't know, it's like, to me, the equivalent of just texting an okay.
Yeah.
A text of an okay, it's that sort of instant, like, oh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have to go back and look at our text back. I think I did that to you the other day.
I
was
wouldn't be
complaining
surprised
about
if I
something
did
and
the
I said
exact same
LOL.
thing back.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
Go figure.
I know.
It's all right.
Here we are. Here we are. This is the beauty of learning from the next generation and mocking the one that comes before you.
It is what it is. Producer Chris with all things sizzling right here on the Live Zone. Appreciate you. We'll take a quick break and be right back. How about we talk weather? Tucker Barnes joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Hey,
Good
sir.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Wednesday, pick of the week, maybe?
Uh-huh.
What do you think?
Yeah, it was beautiful on the way in. No humidity, plenty of sunshine. I loved it.
Good. I love the optimism and feeling good about it because most of the summer we're sweating in one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today has been a great start and it should be a nice finish. Daytime highs eventually in the mid-80s. We're a live look at some beach. We were just down in Ocean City a minute ago. That doesn't look like Ocean City to me, but it looks like a place I'd like to be spending some time.
Yeah, I can see some people with their towel out, right, relaxing on the beach.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
You ever been to a nude beach?
One time.
Yeah?
Yeah,
What
they
about?
banned me.
Did they?
Yeah, said it was too much stuff going on.
That's why you gotta watch a show.
You never know what will happen here, Tucker.
I want to know more about that. What's going on? Apparently, he got kicked off the beach. I was in one in San Diego recently, and
Really?
yeah, here's my deal with nude beaches. Nothing wrong with them. It's just the crowd that is attracted to it seems to be a little bit on the old and retired side.
There you go. Not something you necessarily want to see.
Okay, 79. And no, I kept my clothes on. I've never dare take them off.
Well,
in
thank
front
you
of
for
everybody
letting
else.
us know.
Yeah, 79 in Washington. Dulles is 76. We are going to be in for a nice afternoon. Nice afternoon at the beach, of course, and nice afternoon at the bay, the mountains, right here inside the Beltway. We are doing fabulous and a mostly sunny afternoon. One exception and the one small piece of not perfect out there will be some wildfire smoke. So we've got a little of that lingering across the area, a little hazy at times, but we will not see storms develop later today, and the air quality shouldn't suffer too much, but there's a little smoke across the region as we get into the afternoon hours. Big picture front from yesterday gone. You can see it offshore there, and looking out to the west, we got a quiet couple days ahead of us. We do have a few changes, Guy, and by changes I mean 90s in the forecast by tomorrow.
Okay.
The fun fact I've been talking about here on the show all morning, we have not hit 90 degrees in DC yet this year.
Is that a record?
Well, the last time we were this late in the season was 2003.
Oh, wow.
So it's been more than 20 years since we've gone this late in the year without hitting a 90-degree temperature. Looks like we do so tomorrow, so that streak will come to an end likely tomorrow, but not today. That's your smoke forecast. And yes, there's more jokes there, but I won't use them. But your smoke should start to dissipate tomorrow as those warmer temperatures push in from the south. And again, this is not terribly intense, but it may be just enough to give us a little bit of a milky white sky out there later this afternoon. Looks hot tomorrow, 92. Storms, a chance by Friday afternoon. Our zip trip, if you want to come out to Leonardtown, no, not to Leonardtown, to Landover. We'll be on the warm and humid side, but it will not be raining.
Okay.
So a good morning for that on Friday, and then we'll have a few scattered storms on Saturday. Got the parade Saturday afternoon if you're going to that, or Saturday evening. We'll have to watch for storms Saturday evening. And then Sunday for Father's Day, there could be a few in the afternoon.
All right. I bet you because we haven't reached 90 yet come August, that's all we're going to see. I bet you.
A few years ago, we hit 90 for the first time very late, and then I think every day in the month of July was 90 or better.
Wow, brutal. All right. Tucker Barnes joining us with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take your weather on the go. All right, guys, just about 5 minutes away from the take. Joining us now is Sylvia, our digital content producer. We want to talk about some of the things that you folks at home are following on our website, and that's fox5dc.com. What's up, Sylvia?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
A lot of folks getting really excited. Why?
Yes, because tennis is heading to the nation's capital for the annual City DC Open. Now, this is actually kicking off July 19th in the city. This is the 5th largest tennis tournament in the nation. Now, it's important to note that tickets are going on sale for this event now, so it's important to jump on this sooner than later so you don't end up not having a potential ticket to the event.
Yeah, if you have never been, this is definitely a treat. I highly encourage it. We were chit-chatting off air, and I said I would tell it on air, and that is the City Open would reach out to radio stations. And, I was at one, and they asked me to stop by and announce the player making his or her way to the court. It was the coolest thing. I had no idea what I was doing, but they coach you along, because I would have said, let's get ready too. They're like, no, you can't do it like that, guy.
There you go. But you just get out there, you have a good time. It's a fun activity. Another thing that a lot of people may not be aware of is that they actually accept volunteers as well.
Wow.
So in the article that is on our site, fox5dc.com, there's more information on how you could potentially sign up as a volunteer, which could possibly get you free access to the events ultimately. So a fun way to enjoy the summer and also get to see some of the world's best tennis players as well.
Yeah, they have the Taste of Tennis, if I can recall as well. It's so prior to the matches starting, they'll have chefs come in from all over the world and feature different foods, let's say for wherever the tennis player happens to be from. It's really cool, guys. You should really check it out.
And let's not forget about that drink that went viral last year. That was super expensive. I mean, but it looks super refreshing. It's pricey, but it looks really refreshing and cute. So I might have to go by and try one of those drinks out for all of us.
All right, speaking of sports, let's go from tennis to baseball.
Yeah, so the congressional baseball game is taking place tonight at Nats Park.
Nice.
Now, this should be fun. The game is supposed to be kicking off at 7:05 p.m. This should be an interesting one. Apparently, the Republicans have been dominating in past games. Oh, my goodness. So hopefully the Democrats will show up tonight and possibly have a little turn of luck.
I just want it to be competitive. Like, come on, guys.
So I do believe they lost last year 31-11.
It was
so I guess
beatdown.
so I guess that's really not a competitive thing. So maybe tonight, we'll see something different for the Democrats. Maybe they have been practicing and maybe recruited a couple of different players. Maybe things have shaken up a bit. But that game is happening tonight, Nats Park, at 7:05.
Yeah, I think our very own Annie Mae is one of the callers here. I think she's going to take part. I remember hearing about that.
That's going to be good then. A lot of high energy, all for a good cause ultimately. So if you haven't got a ticket, or if you're interested in going, definitely pull up to Nats Park tonight.
Yeah, but I live not too far from there, so maybe I'll see if I can get a ticket in.
There you go. There you go.
All right, got about 2 minutes left, and I know we really really want to talk about this because
oh my gosh. Yeah, because you know how I feel about this story, Guy. Okay, a Fairfax man actually won a $2.8 million lottery jackpot. Now, I know I come on here and talk about so many people winning the lottery, right? Usually it's a scratch off, maybe even a slot machine perhaps. In this case, he won from an online game. Monopoly Super Spin was the game. I did not know that this was also another avenue that you can be winning the lottery. I feel like this is more my speed. I still have yet to buy a lottery ticket. I know I talk about it all the time, but if I could just download a game and get on my phone and play, I don't play games on my phone, but this is just way more accessible, I feel, for me.
So you can download this game?
I do believe so.
Wow.
Or if not, maybe you can just visit a website. But obviously, we always have our phones with us. We're walking around with them anytime. When you're waiting for, your doctor's appointment, where you're waiting to get on the metro, what have you, why not take your chance at winning $2.8 million?
Okay, so the question is, with that amount of money, would you quit your job?
Oh, of course.
For
You
only
wouldn't see me.
2.8?
You know what? I would just have weeks of sick. I just disappear. For 2.8?
Oh, that's
can't that last you a lifetime?
That's not enough money nowadays.
I think that I would have to find a financial advisor and then get some investments set up, and I would make it last. Make your money work for you. That would be my next step.
All right, so you know what? We will have to follow this story and follow that gentleman who actually won the $2.8 million.
And I might start following him too, because I want to know how he got it. And I want some too.
I just want to know if he keeps his job or not. So we'll let you know. Sylvia, with all things we're covering for you, yet again on our website, that's fox5dc.com. Truly
That's right.
appreciate you.
Of course,
hey,
anytime.
speaking of things to follow, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take your weather on the go and, well, us as well.
Yes.
The Take, coming up next, right here on Fox 5.